Today we have a 2007 Toyota Matrix in the shop. The complaint is that only at low idle, and when you're sitting at like a stoplight or when you first put the car into reverse or drive, the engine shudders a little bit, and I believe it's just a tune-up issue. It's got 173,000 miles on the car, so more than likely these are the original plugs in this car, so I'm fixing to change these out, and hopefully that's the problem. If not, I'm going to look a little deeper. Also, while I'm in there, I'll probably look at the air cleaner and things like that, but let's get you in here and we'll go over the process of how to change out spark plugs on one of these cars. Okay, we shouldn't need a whole lot of tools for this job. First thing we have to do is take this little plastic cover off, and that's going to require a 10 millimeter metric socket. I've got a deep well. You don't have to have a deep well for this. Take these guys out of the way. They're like acorn nuts. Hang on to those. Okay, that one didn't come out. I think it was supposed to, but it backed out of there rather than the acorn nut coming off. It backed out of the thread here, so I'm going to have to work on that, put that back in so that it'll operate as it's supposed to. But for now, we're just going to set that aside and set the little loose acorn nut on top there. Okay. So now what we're looking at are 4 individual coil packs, and I didn't state it, but this is a 4-cylinder car. There should be a sticker around here somewhere. I'll look it up and insert it in here. It really doesn't matter. It's a 4-cylinder. So we're going to crack these 10 millimeter bolts loose right here. I kind of prefer to do them one at a time because that way, even though it'd be hard to get these things crossed, it's just, it's a little easier to do it that way, I think. Okay, we've got a little clip here. Probably going to need a small screwdriver or a pocket knife. Guys probably can't see it, but there's a little clip here that's holding this plug on. There we go. Just pry that out and pull it out. Leave my knife out here so I can get to it here in a moment easily. Okay, so now we're going to take this loose. This is basically your coil pack, so if you get a code that says you need to change one of your coil packs out, that's what you'll be looking for. So we're going to take this loose, set that aside somewhere you won't lose it, and we're going to pull this straight out. This one came out nice and easy. Visually inspect the inside, make sure there's no corrosion or anything going on. Kind of wipe them off a little and just set that aside. Now I'm going to grab one of the new plugs. They recommended using these iridium. In fact, they were saying that you had to use them in this particular car, so I wasn't real happy about that because these things are like $7.20 a piece. I thought that was ridiculous. But must be the same stuff that they made Iron Man's suit out of, I guess. That's why it's so expensive. Okay, let's see what size this is. It's a 16 millimeter. So we're gonna, and I went with the NGK plugs. I like NGK. I've used them for years on motorcycles and stuff and never had a bad one from the factory, so. Okay, we're gonna grab our 16 mil and an extension because we're going to need one. Okay, now the important thing about working on any of these cars like this is you want to keep your socket in line. You don't want to put sideward pressure on that because that could break the ceramic off in there. Although we're taking the plug out, still you don't want to do that. You want to keep it straight in line. And they even make special spark plug sockets that have a piece of rubber inside of there. And if you're new to mechanicking, I advise you get one of those. Or put a piece of rubber hose in there to kind of protect you, give you a little more feel. But I've done this enough that I can keep this in line and break this loose. Now I kind of had to cover it up to do that, but basically I'm just holding my palm of my right hand here in the center as kind of a stabilizer to keep me from putting sideways torque on it. So that one's loose. Get this ratchet out of the way. Yeah, the bad thing about not having rubber in here is this may not come out easily. Let's see if I can get it out of here. Yep. Nope, I'm gonna have to have a needle nose to get down in there. If you've got the one with rubber, it'll come right out. Stick your tongue out just right, that'll help you. Okay, and here we go. Now I'm going to visually inspect this. They're definitely not new. I can see, some buildup here. They're not the worst. What you're looking for, you can read how the engine's running based on the colors on the spark plug here. So this first hole looks good. Just looks like it's old. So, okay, we'll set that aside. Not a lot of places to set stuff on these new cars. I liked old cars better because there were tons of places like the air cleaner. You could set all kinds of stuff on that. These new cars, they're all rounded surfaces. There's no place to really set anything that is convenient. We got the new plug here. And I've taken some criticism on some of my other videos for using never sees on the threads. People said that, it'll foul it out to where it won't ground out. The spark plug has to ground out. Well, for one thing, I don't coat it right up on this part here. I try to keep it off of that. So I'm just trying to get basically the first 3 or 4 threads, on a long spark plug like this. So let me show you what I do. I've never had one not work from using never sees. So these people that think that it's going to make it to where, a little bit of anti-seize. In fact, even at the parts house, they're trying to give you this stuff. They're trying to, upsell you that stuff when you buy a set of spark plugs. So that's all you need to do right there. Just coat that so that as it goes in, it puts a little anti-seize in those threads. So, and I'm just going to look at the new plug, this iridium. First time I bought an iridium plug, so I'm just kind of checking it out. Okay. And I don't want to just throw it in the hole because I don't want to mess up the gap on the thing. So, okay. Pay attention when you're starting these things. If it feels sticky at all, like it's not wanting to go straight in, then you've done something wrong. You wouldn't want to try to tap a hole that deep down in a inside of a thing like that. It goes quite a ways down in there. At least 4 inches. So we're going to tighten this up. And again, I'm holding this straight so that I don't put sideways pressure on this. It's pretty straightforward. You want to get it all the way tight until it makes a good compression seal. About right there. I don't torque them down. You can torque them down if you want to. I don't see any need in it. This has still got a little bit of oil on that, so I'm going to just go ahead and install this but straight back down in there. Push it down as far as you can. Put your bolt back in. And if you're like me, you use a little anti-seize. Need to stir it up a little. It's a little oily on the top there. Okay. Again, just pay attention, you know, finger tight or finger start all your bolts, you'll be fine. Okay, we're going to switch back over to the 10 mil. And on a deal like this, that's screwing into plastic, good and snug is all you need. I mean, you can see I'm not putting the Hercules on it. Good and snug. Okay. Now, the rest of them should be the same. If I run into anything else that's different or any little weird things you have to do, then I'll stop and come back and let you know. But if I find a really dirty spark plug, I'll turn the video back on and show you guys what's up. I saw one guy saying you had to take this little rail out. It's not true. Just push it out of your way, and that pops right out. Don't take anything out yet. You don't have to take out. It's just asking for trouble. That's how you break stuff. I wanted you to kind of hear this. On one of these plugs, I could tell that I was taking a thread of aluminum out. I could just hear it making a kind of a screeching sound, and there was nothing I could do about it except just keep going, because I think these things have been in there since the beginning, since this car was brand new from the factory. Let's see if you can hear this. Little grisly sounding. So if I'm doing that, what I've been doing is just going back a little. Maybe that'll release it, because I don't want to booger up the threads, but I've got to get these plugs out. There we go. If they'd used a little never sees from the factory, it wouldn't have done that. That's the point of the never sees. That's why I'm a adamant believer of it, and you know, I recommend you guys, if you're going to do some wrenching, get yourself a bottle of that never sees. It probably lasts you your whole life, but it'll save you in the long run. The good news is none of them look oil fouled or anything like that. The engine looks like it's been pretty healthy. It just needed a tune-up. They certainly weren't the worst I've ever seen, but after looking at them, I can tell these have been in there the life of the vehicle. It's running buttery smooth right there. All right, guys, let me show you what we found. Okay, I was getting a little chirping sound, and I couldn't quite figure out what that was. The engine seems to be running smooth enough. Underneath this hose, there's an upper motor mount, and as I pushed down on the top of the engine, I was actually just leaning across it trying to look around for vacuum leaks, and as I pushed down on it, I noticed the chirp got louder. So I investigated a little bit, and then I squirted some lube down there, just some WD-40 down on that rubber boot, and it immediately went away. So I'm going to inform the customer that in the future they may need to think about changing that out if it starts squeaking again. That's not what they brought it in for. They brought it in just for a tune-up. So we got that accomplished. I'm going to go ahead and get some fuel injector cleaner and run this thing around a little bit, just to make sure that we've got some good fresh gas and some good fuel injector cleaner in there. But yeah, she's running a lot smoother. Anyways, guys, that's going to be a wrap on this video. Hope you've enjoyed it. This is how I do a tune-up on a 2007 Toyota Matrix. Some of it's trial and error with these kinds of things. You just have to, if you think that you've got an issue with your spark plugs, if they're the original plugs, then you probably need to change them out once you get over about 100,000, maybe 125,000 miles. It's time to put some new spark plugs in, and your car will run smoother, and you'll get a little bit better gas mileage as a result of that. So, guys, appreciate you tuning in and sticking with the video. Hope this helps you out in the future if you have to do a tune-up. So, until then, we'll see you next time.